Board. Alongside me is the esteemed crew of Creston, Austin, Zach, Brendan, and Mason. How you guys doing today?
Oh, pretty good.
Oh, good?
Just peachy.
Just peachy? Well, that's a first. I don't really hear that often, but I mean, this warm weather is really getting me in that spring fever. I love it, but we're going to get with our Warhawk thought. It's not an obscure sport today because, as promised last week, we're going to start off with build a player. I think the rules are pretty simple. You just choose 5 traits from any player in NFL history and design your choice of a running back or a wide receiver. So with that being said, we're going to start with Austin.
Am I saying like all 5 traits right away?
Yeah, well, say the position that you're going to build and then say like the traits from a player.
Okay, I'm going to go wide receiver. First, for hands, I'm going to take Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh my gosh, dude, yes.
I'm pretty sure he has more tackles in his career than drops. I think that's just crazy. Speed, I'm going to take John Ross. He was very fast. He wasn't good, but he was very fast. This one's tough. I'm going to take, would you, take intimidation as a factor?
It's whatever
You know what I mean?
it's whatever you want. I've seen some weird stuff out there. So
Okay, I'm going to take Julio Jones for that. It's biased, but
That's very biased.
He was just, you can't deny he was he was scary.
No, I don't think he was that scary.
Titans legend Julio Jones.
He was. We all remember that sideline catch.
Eagles legend.
For contested catch, I'm gonna take Calvin Johnson.
Dude, we have the exact same receiver almost. That's unreal.
And I'm gonna take route running. I think after watching Davante
No,
Adams.
dude, you literally stole my player. What are you doing?
Is that 5 then?
I think that's 5.
I
Yeah.
think that's 5.
Yeah.
That's my player.
That's a solid player. That's a solid player.
because it's mine.
Kristen?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna go running back. I think actually. I went speed. Obviously, Chris Johnson. I mean, there's not really an explanation needed there. Fastest running back. Yeah. Break tackle. I went with Adrian Peterson, just because in his prime, that dude could break off any tackle and go 10, 15 more yards. Power. Technically, this guy was a fullback, but I'm going to go Christian Okoye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a fullback.
Yeah, 6'1", 254. I mean, if you have a guy with Chris Johnson's speed and Christian Okoye's power running at you, that's just not the best thing that you'd want in your life. Speaking of power, I'm going to go with size. Obviously, Derrick Henry, 6'3", 247. I mean, just very tall. Have to tack his legs, otherwise he'll make you look silly. And then I went with agility. I went with Barry Sanders for my agility. Just because he's a smaller, shifty guy, just a little bit tougher to if he jukes you out, obviously, I've seen him make people fall. He's just very quick, very shifty and changing direction.
Dude, that goes against God's nature. That if that's a human being right there, to have all of that muscle with that speed, insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's just scary to think about in the field. Mason?
I chose receiver as well. For size, I went Megatron. It seems like we're kind of all going to have Calvin Johnson in some sort of way if we have receiver. Speed, I went Tyreek. You can kind of go a few other ones, but I went Tyreek. I had multiple backup options in case I was the last one. But route running, I went Cooper Kupp. I just love the way he plays the game. He's awesome. He's teaching another guy, a young kid there, Puka, how to run routes. They're awesome. Contested catch, I went with George Pickens. He's made some pretty insane grabs just in tight, close confines of the field. And then I went with release, which is something that I really love to see, guys that can kind of feather their feet in multiple different ways. And with that, I went with Davante Adams, so kind of similar to that route running one as well.
I like it. I don't really see release that often when it comes to these, so that's interesting that you put that into effect.
So I'm going to go wide receiver as well. The hands of Fred Biletnikoff, who was if you don't know who Fred Biletnikoff is, was a receiver back in the 70s. He put stickum on his bare hands, and that's how he used to catch the football.
Which is now illegal.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that illegal?
It was legal when he played, so he's going on my player. He never dropped the ball because he was just a dog,
I mean, if
no
you
gloves.
The Stickum was a dog.
The Stickum
Stickum
when you're
was a
Fred
supported
Biletnikoff,
actor.
You can do what you want. I went size. I went Calvin Johnson. 6'5", kind of obvious. Route running, I chose, I'm just drawing a blank now. You said Devontae Adams, and Larry Fitzgerald. I had Larry Fitzgerald for route running.
That's another good one.
Very good running routes. Speed, I went with Tyreek Hill. I know John Ross at the combine time, but John Ross in pads versus Tyreek in pads, I still think Tyreek is slightly faster because, you run the combine without pads. And then the last that I did was longevity of Jerry Rice.
Oh.
Because Jerry Rice played for 20 seasons.
Seahawks legend.
Yeah, he was a Seahawks legend. I don't like that we unretired Largent's number for him, though, but
Yeah, that's fair.
it's a whole debate.
Yeah, so for me, I also went wide receiver. Starting off with hands, I also had Larry Fitzgerald, who I was looking at the stat. He has 40 total tackles compared to 29 drops in his career. Averages only 1 dropped pass per season, which is unbelievable. I'm taking the build of Harold Carmichael. Anyone that plays Madden, obviously, gets like 5 cards every year.
I was surprised nobody's picked that yet.
Yeah, Harold Carmichael is 6'8". He was 225. I mean, that's just absurd for a receiver. Speed, Tyreek Hill. I mean, you have a 6'8" guy with Tyreek Hill's speed. I think that's kind of unbeatable. Contested catchability. I know a lot of people said Megatron. I'm going to go D-Hop.
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins has probably 2 of the greatest catches I've ever seen in my life. So went with him for contested catching ability and route running. Jerry Rice, the GOAT. So
Okay, I like it. There's a lot of similarities around the room. I'm going to be honest, I was unexpected to see that many similarities, but, it's still cool to hear you guys' creations. For mine, I mean, thanks to Austin, it's pretty much a given, but I had Fitz hands, Devontae Adams route running, because, in 21, he was just insane. I think he was the best route runner that year. And Calvin Johnson, physique, but I'm actually going to switch it to DK Metcalf just to be different. Tyreek Hill, speed, and then for invulnerability, Tyler Lockett, just because he doesn't get injured that often. And I feel like that's a key point to a receiver. But that was interesting. I would say let's put a vote for it, but they're all pretty much the same, so I don't really think we can do that. And we're going to move on to our first topic anyways, which is Hawks and hockey. We finally get to talk about hockey, and oh my gosh, dude, so much has happened, bro. Like this Saturday, the Cup playoffs start. There's a relocation. The NHLPA survey came out last week. But, of course, we're going to focus mainly on the relocation just because that's probably the biggest news in sports currently. And we're going to dive into a little bit of the after effects of that as well. So, basically, what are your guys' thoughts on the Coyotes moving to Utah? Do you think Utah deserves it? And then so on and so forth. We're going to start with Brendan.
So I definitely believe that Arizona shouldn't have had a hockey team anyway, just low attendance numbers and just overall not putting great quality on the ice. I like Salt Lake City as a city for an NHL team, but my friend and I were talking about it about 2 months ago, even before, and, we're from Wisconsin originally. He's just recently getting into hockey. He's now become a Predators fan just because of Milwaukee being the KHL affiliate. But he says, why doesn't Wisconsin have a hockey team? Minnesota has one, Chicago has one, and Wisconsin, you would think, with being as north as it is, as close to Canada as it is, why don't they have a professional hockey team? And we were sitting there thinking about it, and I think Milwaukee would be perfect for a pro hockey team. So, Salt Lake City is cool. It's in the mountains. It kind of ties into the hockey, but I really would like to see Milwaukee get a pro team at some point.
You're preaching to the choir. There's some effects as to why we don't have one yet, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I'm pretty sure all of Milwaukee would just die if we had one, because from everybody that I've talked to, and now including you, it seems like there's a thirst for a hockey team, especially because in the past, I want to say 3-4 years, hockey's really increased in watching, and it's just been a lot more fun to watch. So I feel like maybe soon there will be, but like I said, there's some factors that I'll get into a little bit later. But Mason, what are your thoughts on Utah's new team?
I just think it's interesting to see, they haven't made it past the first round of the playoffs since 2011, 2012. So it's definitely a team that has been struggling. They haven't had a winning season since the COVID year and everything. So I saw a stat that said that, they're moving from a city that has about 5 million people to 1.5, which I think is definitely interesting for a team that couldn't even get attendance with, 5 million people there versus you're going to a city that has only 1.5. I generally think it's interesting to see, I was looking at a map earlier of like where pro sports teams are. And you've kind of got none in that range from like kind of that Oregon to like the Dakotas, like specifically in the MLB. And I think it's definitely something that some teams should, I don't think they're going to relocate anytime soon, but I think it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. And I think it even reaches further to like our, even Division III, like even NHL professional to D3. Like there's no like sports teams in that, Dakota to Wyoming range past that. So I think it's definitely interesting to see like a city that's really known for like even motorsports. Like there's a lot of stuff in like Utah for like motorsports. You're getting kind of into that, professional sports, like kind of, more physical sports as well. So I feel like Utah, it's a beautiful area. I haven't generally been there, but it's something where I want to, go to. And I think it's a positive sign that there's a lot of, intrigue for a professional hockey team there.
So you feel like Utah deserves a hockey team?
I don't really know if I would say deserve, but I feel like it's definitely a place where, there's a lot to look at. If you're like a traveling person, you want to go visit, like I'm a person that wants to go visit all of like these professional sports venues. So like seeing Utah in general, plus the arena that they'll be playing in, I would say they deserve it based on the fact that I would want to go there.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what their target audience is. I mean, from the articles that are put out about it, Utah had the biggest aggression to pursue a team, and that's how they got them.
What were the other ones, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't remember off the top of my head who was all in the conversation. I just remember that Utah was the biggest one that was trying to get one. There's some other teams that are looking in the future that could be possible expansion cities, one of them being Atlanta and then Houston. But it was just a shock to me, especially because, as you mentioned, 1.5, going from 5 million to 1.5, and then the fact that they didn't have, and the whole reason why they moved was because they weren't getting enough sales and all that, and now how is that going to solve? And it's just, Utah also doesn't really seem like the type of state to like that kind of violence or that, that kind of media or whatever you have for it. That's why it was a shock to me to see it to go to Utah. I mean, I was thinking more somewhere east because that's where most of the teams are, but it was just a huge shock to me for Utah.
Am I correct in seeing that they only have like a capacity of like less than 7,000 in that arena that they were playing in, or is that incorrect?
You could be right. I mean, for hockey itself, they had a minor league team in the early 2000s, the Utah Grizzlies, I believe. And I think they capped out at about 6,000 or 8,000 or somewhere around there. So yeah, they were just, overall, they're not really a hockey city, which is, again, I don't know why that they were so aggressive to get a team, but maybe things have changed over time. And as I was saying, the change in the sport overall the past few years has kind of swayed the opinion of people.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you. I feel like it was time for the Coyotes to move, but I don't know, if Utah was the place. Like, they have the Jazz, and the Jazz haven't been like amazing, but they also haven't been bad, and I just feel like there's not a lot of like following behind the Jazz until it comes playoff time, and then it kind of gets a little bit more into it. But yeah, I don't know. I think for me, the Coyotes kind of need to rebrand completely if they're gonna try this. I believe. I think you got to have a new name. You got to redesign everything. I don't know. They will have 13 players coming back, so they'll have that like sort of kind of team aspect. So it's not like, the Kraken or the Golden Knights where they'll have players kind of going in from everywhere learning.
Yeah, they already got like a structure put together. Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the 1.5 million thing is kind of like,
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's got me scratching my head. It's like the whole purpose was to get an audience, and now you're going to less of an audience.
Yeah, I think it's the right move for Arizona. I don't know if Utah was the correct thing. I just think maybe in 2 to 3 years we'll know. Kind of like, is this working? What can we do to fix it? But yeah, I think going to a place that doesn't really have any geographical hockey team is going to maybe put a kind of damper on the excitement of this.
And I saw in this article that Smith, I believe he's the owner for the Coyotes, is getting like 1.2 and 1.3 billion dollars in this relocation, which is actually no, sorry. Alex Marullo is the Coyotes owner, and he's getting 1 billion, which for a relocation is insane. I mean, I didn't think it would cost $1 billion to have their whole team relocate, but I mean, that'll be good for Arizona, and it wouldn't surprise me if down the line Arizona would want another team in Phoenix. So maybe that's what they could possibly do with that 1 billion. But I mean, I wouldn't expect anything anytime soon from that.
I like that they're going to Utah because if you look, you see the Avalanche are there, kind of in the like center of the United States. But other than that, there's not a whole lot. And I feel like Arizona, they just can't really afford to have all these big market teams. You have the Suns, that's really what they're known for. The Diamondbacks, you know, they had a nice run, but you don't really hear much about their other, like, you know, you don't hear much about the Cardinals or the Coyotes. I just feel like they couldn't really afford that many big market teams. And I think Utah would be a nice place just to kind of spread out because, I mean, with every major sport in the United States, it's usually heavily weighed over in the East, and then it just kind of gets away. And like you guys are talking about, the scenery would be cool. And I think even if you just have a team in the area, you're going to gain traction. I mean, you see plenty of places where people don't even know players, but they still have a shirt with the team on them, a hoodie, you know, not necessarily bandwagons, but just supporting your home team, so to say. But I think it's a good transaction and that it's a good way to kind of change things up. But like you were saying, I think they should rebrand. Like, I don't think they should just be, they just move and then they stay. I think if you're going to move, the culture's going to change, so you have to change too. Like, I just don't think it's going to work if they try to stay exactly how they were.
And plus, there's not really that many Coyotes in Utah, so you gotta.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
would just kind of be like,
Yeah, there's like a list of team names for the potential new Utah team that have been released on Instagram that I'm gonna talk about when we get everybody's view, and then I just want like your guys' opinions on it because there's a couple of good ones and there's a couple of just wacky ones. But before we get, actually no, yeah, Zach, give me your thoughts first.
Well, I think Utah is just kind of a weird place to have a hockey team. I mean, when I think of the typical Utah person, I don't think of a person that wants to go to a hockey game and just watch people beat up on each other. It doesn't seem like a Utah kind of thing. I do think it's cool for them, though, to get some professional representation. Obviously, like Preston said, they have the Jazz, but I mean, that's pretty much it. Like Mason said, the Coyotes, I mean, they are in desperate need of a change, and they haven't done anything since, 2011, 2012. They've only been to the playoffs one time since then, and I mean, just looking back in their history, they really haven't done anything, like at all, pretty much. So it's obvious that change is needed. I do think it's just weird that they went to a worse, like,
Yeah, a
market.
worse market. Yeah, exactly.
Because, I mean, you have places like Atlanta, which I know they had their chance a while back, but you can go there. You got Houston, Kansas City, Portland, Green Bay, Milwaukee. I mean, we'll take them, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, it'd be.
Yeah, because I feel like that would get more people in Wisconsin, like, to get into hockey. So, but yeah, change is definitely needed. I just think it's kind of a weird place to do it.
Yeah, I agree. So you think that this fresh start is gonna change the Coyotes forever? You think it's gonna be enough to push them to that next level?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they need the players. I mean, they're
Yeah.
the fifth worst, like, point total of the entire league this year. I mean, just pretty much everything's got to change. Just a complete overhaul.
Yeah, they don't have much besides Logan Cooley, which, I mean, he's a dog and he's pretty young, so I'm excited for his future. I'm also curious to see where they're going to land in the lottery. I know that in the NHL lottery, it's, people say it's going to be the Blackhawks again.
Probably.
I really hope not, because then it's like it's got to be rigged at that point to get back-to-back years. I think San Jose should win it this year because, I mean, they deserve it the most. They've been so bad for so many years, but
Hey, the only team worse than my Blackhawks.
yeah, by like 2 games. But as I mentioned before, there's some potential new names for the Utah team. the top 5 being the Utah Yetis, the Salt Lake Stingers, the Utah Blizzard, the Salt Lake Skyhawks, and the Salt Lake Golden Eagles. I can repeat them if need be, but between those, it's going to be an open floor here, but between those, which do you think would fit the most?
Blizzard, 100%.
The Blizzard?
That's my favorite out of
But-
I think you could do Blizzard and have a Yeti as
Yeah,
your
that's
mascot.
literally-
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that would be
kinda like
good.
But the only issue with that is you have the Avalanche.
I was thinking the same
yeah.
thing,
I mean,
because then
but-
you got 2.
And they're
Just
right
hockey
there.
names, like most hockey names, like a lot of hockey names don't end with like that S. I just, I like the Blizzard. I think it fits the hockey theme, like the cold on ice. And
It's marketable.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it'd be unique, and it would definitely help their market to have something unique like that as well. But I don't know, something about the Utah Yetis just really speaks to me. I don't know what it is. It's
Sounds
just
good.
yeah, it's like it's intimidating. It's mysterious. It's got a lot going for it. But I definitely see what you guys are saying with Blizzard.
It'll also be interesting to see if they go by Utah something or if they go by Salt Lake City
Yeah.
something.
It's a good question, because I don't know where it's going to be, like where their stadium is going to be located in the state as of right now.
Salt Lake City.
Oh, it is? Okay, so that is confirmed, because I thought I saw a rumor about that, but I didn't want to, okay.
I think Utah Blizzard sounds better.
Yeah, I think if they just go with the state overall, it's probably better, just
Yeah.
because then it's not like, centralized in
I also did see a little fun fact that they are known as the Beehive State, Utah is, so I think that's why.
Oh, the Stingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're in there.
Okay, now that you mentioned that, Stingers just rode up on my list.
Because I also saw the Swarm or the Hive as the,
Ooh.
as the like
The Hive would kind of go hard.
I know, dude. See, I love it when teams get a fresh start.
You can make that the area of your fans, like your.
Oh,
stand.
the Hive.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
the
Call them the
Hive.
Stingers and then the Hive. I like that.
That'd be
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, maybe. If they're listening to this, they'll consider it.
I was gonna say the Blizzard just because looking at Utah, one of their canyons has an annual snowfall of about 551 inches of snow annually. So what is that each day? 2 inches every 5 days? 2 feet every 5 days?
Oh
Something
my
like that.
gosh, yeah. If I didn't want to live there before, I'm definitely not living there
1
now.
foot every 5 days.
What
There
happens
we
in
go.
Utah? What are they?
I don't even know. I just know
snows and they just-
Mountains.
I just know that they're a very I think they're a very religious state.
Very.
From what I've
Is that the
heard.
Mormon state?
Yes, it is the Mormon state. That's why I was saying their target audience doesn't really typically like fighting and stuff. So I'm not being stereotypical. I'm just being honest.
Well, that's why I said the typical Utah person, you don't expect them to want to go to hockey.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
They haven't really had a chance though.
well, they had a minor league team and they only had 6,000 cap
Yeah,
out.
I just feel like now that the Jazz are kind of
Plateauing.
down, they don't
Oh,
really have
so you're saying they're fiending for a good sports team?
just something new.
The-
Because the Jazz, all they've been doing is kind of losing stuff. I mean, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert gone. Now they've taken a plummet. They don't really have anything else. They're looking for something new to root for. And what better than a new underdog team?
I mean, they're more than an underdog team.
And the Jazz, actually, attendance-wise, even this year, since 2010, have actually been in the top half of the NBA in attendance every year. Even though it's not wildly popular, for you, in your head for a Utah citizen to like hockey, I actually really think that it's going to be successful for the city. Kind of to your point too, that I think they're just looking for something new. It is a big enough city to, in my opinion, have 2 professional sports teams. And just with the cold climate, it fits already. You could already be wearing a winter coat outside and go inside and watch some hockey. I actually think they're going to be top 15 in attendance next year.
Wait, okay, so are you talking about
see
the
that.
Coyotes or the Jazz?
The new team going to whatever they're going to.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Not the
Top
Jazz.
15.
I'm telling you,
yeah.
If
especially
they rebrand correctly.
if it's done right and plays into the mountainous setting and everything.
Okay, then yeah.
I actually think that Salt Lake City was a great location to go to. I'm kind of biased in saying Milwaukee first, but I don't think Salt Lake City is terrible or a bad place to go relative to some of the other cities that could have gotten a team.
I mean, yeah, it all depends on the next phase, which is the marketing and rebranding phase. So then that'll fully determine it for me.
Do we know what the Golden Knights had for attendance-wise, like their first year?
I'm
Top five.
that's-
I mean, that's
Really?
that's like a bigger market. and everything,
Vegas,
but-
yeah, that's
Oh
Vegas.
yeah,
Vegas
I mean that is
surprisingly,
Vegas, so that does play into
Yeah.
effect. And this is Utah.
Like other than
Surprisingly.
that, like what was the last team that like rebranded?
The Kraken.
Kraken.
And the Kraken did pretty good their first season, and I think they still are doing pretty good.
And you also have to think people are going to want to go to Salt Lake City to see the new stadium, to see all this. Like,
To see the new team.
Yeah,
that's,
they can
that's
have
like my
good
reason.
attraction.
That's
behind it.
true. That's
so
true.
if there was ever a year for the Coyotes or to whatever they become to be good, it's next year because this is the year that you want to put your team on the map. If you make a playoff push next year, or just have any sort of excitement, whether it be with a young rookie or maybe signing a star in the offseason, just something to get the fans invested. If you have a great first year, it'll continue success long term.
Yeah. And if they do happen to win the lottery, I believe their chances are a little bit slimmer. That would also help a lot because if they got, I think the number one prospect is Cordini. I'm probably butchering his name, but he's the number one prospect right now, and I feel like he would really morph that team. Him and Logan Cooley that'd be a great duo. But since you brought up Milwaukee, I did say I was going to say some of the effects as to why we potentially won't have one. For most likely cities for an NHL expansion team, we are in the top 8, but we're number 7. If you guys recall back in the early 2000s, the Admirals won the championship back-to-back years, and the stadium was half full or like 3/4 full, so it wasn't even sold out both years, which is a shock. And even like last year, where we made it to the semifinals against the Coachella Firebirds, it was a little bit better of attendance, but it still wasn't enough to drive like a market out there. And we do have like a good audience range for us to potentially have one, but it also is the money that is put into making a stadium that puts into effect, like the Climate Pledge, which is the Seattle Kraken. They are the newest team to have a stadium, and that costs $650 million. So I don't believe that we're going to be quick to jump the gun to get that at this moment. As much as I would love for us to get one, it's probably going to be a little bit until we have like a solidified audience range to want to spend that money. I know before the show we were talking about how Pfizer Forum had like potential to turn into a hockey rink. But that would mess up the
It
floorboards,
would
wouldn't it?
just, like, just from seeing how, like, that works, you have to pay a lot of people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure conditions are right, so that way, like, your stadium's gonna be under different, like, just kind of, like, set things. And, yeah, I don't know how big it is either, like we were talking about. I don't know. if
I think
it
it's a
would
little bit
fit.
smaller, yeah.
A lot of arenas use their pro basketball team and
Yeah.
NHL team in this arena. The Kings and the Lakers, Knicks and the Islanders, just coming to mind. I know the Predators, Vanderbilt, that's where they play their men's basketball games at Bridgestone. I don't think attendance would actually be a problem, and the only reason I disagree with kind of what you were saying is strictly because it's a KHL team, it's a minor league. I can think of a lot of people in Memphis love the Cardinals. They love the Cardinals, and the AAA affiliate is the Redbirds. Not many fans want to go to a game strictly because it's minor league. There's just a huge difference between a pro atmosphere and a minor league atmosphere. Regardless of how well that team's doing that year, really fans won't show up to Redbirds games unless a player on the Cardinals is doing a rehab start. I remember last year Wainwright had a start for the Redbirds, and a lot of people in the town wanted to go just to see Adam Wainwright in Memphis. He pitched 2 innings. As soon as he came out, half the stadium fled out. Like I said, and the Redbirds were top in their division last year in AAA. It's just fans want to actually support a pro environment. So I do slightly disagree with attendance being a potential issue, because I think Milwaukee would do just fine in that aspect.
And yeah, that's fair too. Chris Pittner, who's another host for the Tuesday shows, he was saying pretty much the same thing. He was saying that if it's a major league team, you're automatically going to draw in a bigger crowd because it actually means something, and it's a new team for the city, and it would just draw in more attention. So I see what you're saying. I just think that it would take a little bit. It's not out of the question. I'm not saying it's out of the question. I'm just saying, in comparison to other cities, we're lower on the list in terms of getting one sooner. Like, as I mentioned before, it was Atlanta, Houston, Phoenix, Quebec, which some people disagree with Quebec, Kansas City, Portland, then Milwaukee and Indianapolis. I personally don't think that some of these teams should get one. Like, I don't know if Atlanta deserves a second shot at having another team. What are your thoughts, Austin? Because I know you're the Atlanta fan.
Yeah, I mean, we have plenty. I mean, we have soccer, baseball, football, basketball, and there's a lot of fans already. I don't know how much you would be able to, like, just kind of spread that out, you know? I feel like Atlanta's fine right now, and that Milwaukee would be a good thing, but like you were saying, if you're gonna, like, make a push for Milwaukee, you have to get, like, this city involved. Like, you have to get people, like, to want it and to get, like, almost like a backbone, like, kind of people to fall back on, knowing you're gonna have, like, attendance, you're gonna have people actually coming. But, I mean, Wisconsin's good at bringing small market teams, like, up. Obviously, you see Milwaukee and you see Green Bay. Like, I mean, if you go around Green Bay, it takes, like 20 minutes to drive through the whole place. Like, it's nothing big. But, I mean, everyone loves the Packers, and you see it across the country. I think if you're going to go in Milwaukee, you have to build a good brand. Because if you don't, then it's just, you're paying a lot of tax dollars.
Yeah.
My question is would it matter if the minor league hockey team was actually affiliated with the Wisconsin team? Because
because they're
yeah.
I think that
Nashville.
would change
Yeah,
things
I think they would automatically change that. Like, then that's like a whole pyramid effect. Because then who does Nashville have for their AHL team?
because you're also, like, looking at talent that could be brought up to your team.
Right,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You're not looking at a talent that's going to be, like, 3 states away.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, yes, it's cool to see minor league guys go up to the big leagues, but I don't know of many people that would travel to see, like, follow one player.
Yeah, and that's a problem with the NHL. I mean, at least in my opinion, because for example, the Kraken, they're all the way up in Washington, and then their like AA or AAA team is in California, which I don't know why it's so far away. And then you have the Coachella Firebirds, which is their AHL team. So I don't understand that, like, that whole prospect range. I think having it in the same city, it makes a lot more sense. You can follow it way easier, and it's going to help the sport altogether. But before we move on to the next topic, with the most likely cities for an expansion, does anybody have any thoughts on these teams that they would like to dive into?
Well, just real quick, I just wanted to ask, so I know you brought up Green Bay, so it wouldn't have to be Milwaukee. Couldn't we just do like Green Bay, possibly Madison?
Yeah.
I know it's like relatively close.
I mean, yeah, you could.
I don't think you could do another pro team in Green Bay. I think the Packers are.
No,
Yeah, I
they're
think-
stretching themselves thin.
What do they have?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing in Madison. There's
Madison
never
is a great hockey city.
You'd get a lot of, like, students as well.
Yeah, exactly.
been-
Like,
Wisconsin hockey's pretty popular though.
oh
college.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like last season, we were like #1 in the nation for a solid like 3-4 weeks.
Both men and women's.
Yeah, and we went from like down to the bottom up to the top so fast. Like they skyrocketed so fast, and their attendance was just peak at that point. So you could make an argument for Madison. I'm sure there's some intangibles that I'm not thinking of that are probably stopping that, because otherwise that would be first ahead of Milwaukee. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be Milwaukee, like you were saying. Like I think the second best spot would be Madison in the state.
100%.
Could you see somewhere like in the middle of this state? Like I know that Stevens Point's a really good hockey team. Obviously, like nobody knows in like the country other than like people in Wisconsin know what Stevens Point is. But like Stevens Point's got really good hockey teams and everything. So is that like a potential thing that you could potentially see?
Yeah, again, that would have to depend on like their market, if they're able to spend that money to get a stadium together, like, because there's a difference between an AHL and an NHL stadium. So that, for Stevens Point, they probably just don't have enough money for it. Like, they definitely have the audience for it. They just don't have enough for it. But that'll wrap it up for our hockey segment. And with that, we're going to move on to Like Father, Like Son. If you guys have noticed in this upcoming draft, which I'm sure you have, there's a lot of son legacies, like Frank Gore Jr., Brendan Rice, Luke McCaffrey. But there's also, in baseball, there was Jackson Holliday, the number one prospect in baseball currently, who made his debut. So far, he's not off to a great start, but I mean, he's only played like, 4 or 5 games or something. It's like a really small number.
Such a small sample size.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure it'll pick up sooner. And then in football, there's also a big name coming out with Marvin Harrison Jr., who's projected to be a top 10 pick. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on who will have the better legacy career. Like, who will have a better career compared to their father as overall. So with that, let's start with Zach.
Well, in my opinion, I think there's no doubt that it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
There you go.
I just think that he's a very polished prospect. Coming out of Ohio State, I mean, we've seen the kind of wide receivers that Ohio State's put out lately. You got Michael Thomas, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, those guys. He's coming off 1,200 yards season with 14 touchdowns. He just looks every bit of a game-changing receiver that teams are going to want and teams are going to get. I just think that he needs to enter the right situation, which I think.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. It solely relies on that, unfortunately.
And given where I think many people think he's going to be drafted number 4 to the Cardinals, which may not be the greatest destination, but at least they have a capable quarterback that can get him the ball. So I think that wouldn't be the worst spot for him. But I just think that with all the tools he's had at his disposal, I just think that he certainly has the look of having a better career. Jackson Holliday, like you said, has not been great. He's batting like I think it's an 0.45 batting average so far on 22 at-bats, which is just really not good. So, I mean, hopefully he does pick it up, and I think he can. He's still a number 1 prospect for a reason, but in terms of career, I got to go Marvin Harrison Jr.
I respect it, and I 100% agree with what you said, where it fully depends on where he goes. If he goes to Arizona, there's a good chance he might not play with Kyler Murray the full year just because he's starting to get injury prone. And he's also had like a little bit of regression here and there, but I mean, he is still a capable quarterback. He can do things. I feel like if he goes to number 5, that's probably his best bet off the bat.
With the Chargers?
Yeah, the Chargers, yeah, because he's got Justin Herbert, and plus there's no other receivers on that team, so he's obviously going to get utilized the most. So that's best, and it's odd that the 4th and 5th pick are either his worst or best case scenario, because I don't think any other team is going to either have a chance to get him or need him.
I do think there's a possibility someone trades up for him just because of how
Yeah.
prospect he is, but I don't really think the Cardinals have much interest in trading down.
They're definitely not going to trade. I mean, he's definitely trade worthy, but the Cardinals are going to be stubborn. They're not going to move.
So are we asking this question as best careers to their individual sport or in terms of surpassing their fathers overall?
Both.
Okay.
Let's go both, because I know that when you showed me this, you wanted to tackle it a specific way, so whatever, yeah.
So personally, in terms of surpassing their father's legacy, I think it has to be Jackson Holliday. Obviously, with the small sample size that we've seen thus far in the major leagues, 0.46 batting average, but just from what I've seen, I'm a big numbers guy. In baseball, you can have the most numbers for everything, whether it be OPS, on base, slugging, all that jazz. And just what he did in the minor leagues in such a short period of time since being drafted out of high school is otherworldly compared to any other prospect. He is the number 1 prospect for a reason, and he's not going to get set back down. He deserves to be in the major leagues, and baseball, there's just so many more at-bats, so many more plate appearances he's going to have coming up that is really going to revolutionize not just his career as a whole. And these first few games I'm really not terribly concerned about. And if he can just do what he did in the minor leagues and what he did in high school, at even 60% of the success rate that he did then, he'll be more than just fine. He'll be a perennial all-star and potentially even an MVP candidate down the road. And as long as the Orioles can keep that team together with Gunnar, Adley, and Holliday, they're going to be a scary team in the future. In terms of overall success relative to their sport, I think it does have to be Marvin Harrison Jr., strictly just because the raw intangibles are there. He's in a majority of draft classes a number one prospect, a unanimous number one pick. It's just with as QB heavy as this year is, as for some reason, a lot of people want to go after quarterbacks. I think whatever team gets Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to love him. He's an immediate game changer, and I wouldn't mind seeing him in Arizona. I still believe in Kyler Murray, and I just think overall he's going to be a success. But in terms of surpassing his dad, I'm a big Marvin Harrison fan. I love what he did with Peyton Manning, so I don't think he'll quite surpass him, but he definitely will make a big impact in the sport of football. The reason for that is just strictly because of longevity in the NFL now is not nearly as much as it was even 15 years ago. I just don't think he'll be able to reach his dad's numbers in terms of longevity.
Yeah, I probably not, because how long did Marvin Harrison play? What was it, like 12, 13 years? I thought it was around there, yeah. And he had like 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah, this season with like 130, 140 catches too.
Yeah, so
Which was the record. In 16 games, Michael Thomas beat it in 17. So Marvin Harrison was a stud, and Peyton Manning in that offense was just elite with Tony Dungy at the helm. So that's the only reason that I don't think he'll be able to quite surpass his dad. Baseball's a little bit different because even though they play 162 games, there's really not that much physical contact in baseball overall. And I just think with this hard hitting and stuff as football is, I think we'd be very happy to see a wide receiver running back go maybe even 10 seasons in today's NFL.
yeah, and to touch on your Jackson Holiday, yeah, he's off to a rough start, but I also am not too worried about him because I think Julio was the number one prospect that year too, and he didn't start out as great in his first few games against the Twins.
When you're 20 years old, I mean, it's so much easier
Yeah.
now that we're like college age to like really like understand it. Like when you're younger, you're like, oh, you're supposed to be the next big thing, da 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 da. But when you realize like the entire world is watching you, it's gonna struggle. Like I couldn't imagine just being a professional athlete, you know, with just knowing that what I know now at 21 years old and going out there a year ago my age and be like, oh yeah, so you're the number one prospect in the MLB, go out and do what you're supposed to do. And like, by the way, the entire world's watching you, and every at bat you're going to be judged and analyzed and broken down. No pressure, go out there. And it's just like, it's hard, it really is. But once he gets his feet wet, I'm sure he'll be fine. Once he got that first hit, you could just tell like he had this huge sigh of relief, like finally. And now once that happened, I think he's going to get right back on the right path, and there's no worry about him being a bust or anything. I think he'll be just fine in the next coming years.
Yeah, he'll get his groove.
So I'm going to spend most of my time talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., but I want to talk about Holly for 1 second. He only spent, what was it, like 2 years in the minors? Don't most people spend like 4 or 5 years in the minors?
He got caught up very fast.
Yeah.
I thought that was very impressive. Like you've already talked about it, but like the OPS, that's like what, 93%, 94%, that's insane. Obviously, he hasn't had the best start to his, major league career, but he's 22 years old?
20.
So that's younger than me. So, and I still don't know what to do with my life. So he's playing in Major League Baseball while, I'm still in college. But anyways, like for Marv, I feel like Marv's just, he's taking the approach of he knows how good he is. Like he didn't test at the combine. He didn't even do interviews at the combine. He knows how good he is, which, might come off as, kind of rude and arrogant, but in my opinion, I feel like he's just trying to save himself, and he's kind of pretty much done what he can do. He knows he's going to go in the top 5 picks, and I want to relate to a interview by Brian Hartline, who is the Ohio State wide receivers coach. And this was in April of 2023. So before this year even started, the guys at Buzzing with the Boys asked him to rank his top receivers he's coached at Ohio State. That includes guys like Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, JSN, and before this year even started, Hartline ranked Harrison number 1. So that was just after his sophomore year. I feel like Harrison's going to come into the league as one of the top receivers in this class, obviously, but also in the NFL. He's got the size, he's got the speed. There's really truly no weaknesses. Like you turn on the tape and it's just like, oh, is this guy special? You just turn it off, because he is. I also disagree with the point that Arizona is not a good landing spot for him compared to the Chargers. The Chargers hired Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, who are known for running the ball. And when I mean running the ball, I mean like running the ball.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And he did say that's what he wants to do, right?
So with Arizona, you have James Conner, but with Kyler Murray, they also have Drew Petzing as their offensive coordinator, who spent a lot of time with Cleveland, with Kevin Stefanski, who does want to run the ball, but it's a lot of like play action stuff. And I mean, obviously when there's play action, the linebackers get sucked up. And again, Marv, he can beat guys in double, triple coverage. So I truly believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a special prospect. I feel like he's going to be a number one wherever he goes. And you guys also mentioned, like, the Chargers don't have any receivers. Well, also the Cardinals don't. I love Michael Wilson.
They got a tight end though.
I love Michael Wilson, like probably more than the next guy, but he's not anywhere close. That should not
Did we just
determine
agree on something?
Weird.
Mark that down.
Wow.
Weird. He came in here and he was bullying me before the show even started too.
Like, define bullying, come on.
It was.
No.
It was getting pretty heated. It's already hot in here. It was getting pretty heated before the show. So
I like how they're like conflicting and you're just sitting in the corner just.
I'm just chilling, man.
No, Arizona's a great spot for Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I love it.
100%.
Yeah, I actually, it's a good thing that you brought that up because I completely forgot that the Chargers' new focal point on offense is to run the ball. Like, he said that in an interview, so, I mean, I don't know when Blake Corum
Yeah,
is
I was
going to
only
go.
going to say, side note, Blake Corum,
Yeah.
welcome to the Chargers.
Yeah, dude, he is like a perfect fit there. I mean,
At the fifth pick. No,
at the,
At
dude,
the fifth pick. Can you
fun having
imagine?
at that point, just throw the draft away if they do that.
That's like taking LJ Collier in the first round. Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay. Simmer down. Hey, the past few years we've been
Yeah, they've been great.
blowing
They've
it
been
up.
great.
We've been great.
Yeah, for me, I feel like Marvin Harrison's the kind of guy that can bail out your quarterback. Like, that dude can catch anything. We saw it at Ohio State. I feel like every week it was something like he would just make a video viral catch every week, and it was just amazing to watch. I do feel like, though, the Orioles do really good jobs at developing their talent. Obviously, Gunnar Henderson and Adley last year. Adding in Holiday, I think, is important. But yeah, obviously, having a lot of pressure like that on both sides, Harrison has to fill the shoes of having, his dad have, what did you say, 10,000 yard?
He had 8 straight.
Yeah.
8 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
And then I feel like if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't get anywhere near that, it's going to be like, oh, well.
Yeah, disappointment.
Yeah.
Anything short of greatness. Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
also feel like it's also a big difference because Matt Holliday was a very good player, but he wasn't like the Marvin Harrison in the NFL, I feel like. So I feel like Jackson Holliday doesn't have as big of shoes to fill. So I feel like in terms of being better than their father, I feel like Holliday's got it, but I feel like overall Marvin Harrison is going to.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. Putting in like comparing the legacies definitely does put a hold on things, like you said. So yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I'll start by talking about Jackson Holiday. I think he will probably like surpass his dad's legacy more like likely than Marvin Harrison Jr. just because I feel like Marvin Harrison, I mean, you had Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that's
Whereas,
huge.
Like, I mean, he's arguably like the top 3 quarterback of all time. You know, you could argue him as the best. So that just doesn't like happen. You know, you can't really pick and choose your quarterback. So I think it's going to be hard. You know, comparing Peyton Manning to Kyler Murray, like it's not the same. But again, with the kind of thing talking about Jackson Holiday having a slow start, he's 20 years old. You know, and in the MLB, you have a lot more longevity than the NFL. I mean, we saw Wemby when he started. He wasn't that great. Like, he had plenty of mistakes, but now he's like, you get used to being in the bigger leagues, and you become better if you actually are a good prospect. But, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he's going to have a really good career. I think he'll have a better career than Holiday, but I don't think he's going to surpass his father. If he goes to the Cardinals, I think he'd be a good fit. I mean, we saw Kyler Murray with D-Hop when he was there. They had, like, some good electrifying moments, but, again, he hasn't really had much. If Kyler can stay healthy, if they can actually use Harrison correctly, I think we'll kind of see a repeat of, like, Justin Jefferson
Yeah.
type thing. But, yeah, I mean, he just has to go to a team that will actually use him, and I don't know. The Cardinals right now aren't looking like a great team for him, like, in the long run. But, yeah, I see him having a better career than Holiday just because of just raw talent.
I agree. Now I'm gonna go basing off of like the two, like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Sr. off of their college careers. I know that that's like not exactly how you're supposed to do it, but you can't really do Marvin Harrison's full career to Jr.'s college career. That's just, it's simply not going to work out. But Marvin Harrison Jr. actually did have a better college career where he had back-to-back 1,200 yard seasons and scored 10 more touchdowns in his career than his father. So off the bat, he already had the better career in terms of like his collegiate career. So I think that is good enough evidence. I mean, yeah, his physique is also very similar, but I mean, we've already talked about it a lot. His destination is also a major point because senior didn't really have a good like college setting, and then he was put with Peyton Manning, and that just skyrocketed him. So I think I even think if he's in Arizona, he could still match his father. I think I'm the only one in this room that said that he could either match or surpass his father in terms of being in the league. Is that true?
It's just so hard.
It's hard.
I don't know, dude.
It's hard, but I think he's good enough to the point where he can do it.
He certainly has the potential for it.
And and his ceiling.
The raw, like, overall, like, just size and speed is there.
Yeah, and his ceiling, so like that's what I'm trying to get at, is his ceiling solely depends on where he lands. Like he's gonna be good anywhere he goes, but it's just a matter of how far he's gonna go. Like if he stays in Arizona for 4 years, yeah, he'll do okay, but I wouldn't recommend staying there any longer. I would hope for him to move if they still have Kyler Murray, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit of a Kyler hater. A little bit biased.
Just don't understand.
A little bit biased. I mean, I used to love him, but then like these past few seasons, he just kind of turned into a little drama queen.
I went the opposite direction.
Well, he's just, injuries.
Yeah, injuries is also a thing. He's just not the same.
Plus, he was playing COD all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I'm a big Kyler Murray fan. I still believe in him, even after the injury. He made the Cardinals fun to watch.
Yeah,
after he came
don't
back.
get me wrong. Like he is a decent quarterback. It's just I don't think that he has the skills to, of a Peyton Manning to where he's gonna secure Marvin Harrison of his father's goals.
Well, and I know also we were talking about longevity with Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not trying to start anything here, but with the new tackling rules, I think that will lead to more longevity for
Oh,
offensive players. So-
probably. He's getting heated already. I agree. That's definitely going to help the future and the youngsters. I'm looking forward to it just for that. Other than that, I think that rule is stupid.
Yeah.
But before we get into, I guess we have a little bit, yeah. We're just going to go through the other names really quick, give your guys thoughts if they're going to be better or worse than their father. I'm just going to name a name, and then you guys just go down the line. Frank Gore Jr.
No.
No?
Not a chance.
Not
Yes.
a chance?
Yes.
I don't know. He had a way better college career. He put up 4,000 yards career-wise, and his dad only put up like 2,000.
That's all about situation.
Yeah, that's a situation thing, but
Frank
still, I
Gore
think
was
it's
a
impressive.
bowling ball.
Yeah, and
He-
Frank
he
Gore
was
also
also not
played for like
consistent.
40 years.
That's
Yeah.
true. He's also not consistent at all. Like, I think the only time where he was like actually decent was when he was on the Niners, which is early on in his career. And then anything after that, he was like up and down. Brendan Rice.
Absolutely not. No chance.
Oh my gosh, you guys are some haters. Jeez.
Jerry Rice.
You're comparing them
Rice.
to the greatest wide receiver of all time. So
Some
Well, that's
people
not
might
Steve
say-
Largent.
that was a good one.
Great one.
April Fool's was 2
I
weeks
laughed.
ago.
Luke McCaffrey.
No.
No. Wow.
So, father, Ed McCaffrey?
Yeah, Ed McCaffrey. You could also put him into comparison with his brother.
No.
Well,
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
If we're
If it's his
comparing, because I
brother,
think
no.
his brother is better than his father. So,
Yeah.
I'm not high on Luke McCaffrey at all. Jeremiah Trotter.
No.
No? Oh my gosh, you guys, what? Jeez, some haters.
Again, this is all situation. Like for Frank Gore Jr., maybe like the starter gets injured and he comes in and just like balls out.
Or yeah, if he like goes to the
Yeah.
Eagles or something where like
Oh,
the
yeah.
O-line is
You're
decent.
gonna do
Yeah.
it no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's
I
entirely
think a
dependent
Rock
on the-
could do good there too. And then finally, Joe Alt.
100%.
That, yes.
Oh, really?
Joe Alt is the best O-line
Oh, here we go.
prospect
Here we
in the
go.
draft.
Uh-huh.
And he will
Just
look
because he's
great.
a Titan.
He's not even a Titan yet. Joe Alt is going to be the best offensive lineman in this draft, and he's the best prospect in this draft. But That's all.
Okay.
Really? Okay, hold on, man. What are you talking about?
He is 100%. In any other draft class, he would be a top 1, top 2 pick.
Joe Alt, a tackle?
Yes.
100%. He is raw intangibles as an O-lineman, plus what he did at the combine. He set so many combine records for an offensive lineman. It's just these teams are so obsessed with quarterbacks and wide receivers and the star plays. In order to have that, you need an O-line. O-line
Okay.
is the most important thing in football.
I mean, as a Titans fan, I wouldn't complain though, because he's going to fall right to you.
A
Yeah.
gift wrapped. I'm so happy. I am so happy
So-
we're going to get
After
it.
years
So
of
let's
avoiding
say-
the offensive line, we're back.
So let's say
Just give
2018.
Levis time, man.
Let's say he's put in the 2018 draft. Where
What
do you
draft
think?
was that?
Do you think he's going to be good there?
Well, the thing is like every year there's always a top team
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
pick that needs a quarterback.
Jeez.
There's
Oh
always
wait,
a
no,
team
maybe
that's-
it's not the 2018 draft I'm thinking of.
That was
That was the
Baker.
tackle with McGlinchey.
Oh
and
no,
Cole-
that is
Cole
not the
Fuller.
draft I
Are you
was
thinking
trying
of
to
the
think
Malik Willis drafts with all those quarterbacks?
of. No.
Which draft? Which?
Are you thinking of
player
the
was
Trevor
first
Lawrence?
overall?
I
gonna
was
say yes
yeah,
either
yeah,
way.
2021. Put him in 2021.
Take a look-see here. 2021. I mean, there was so much hype around
You had
T-Law.
Chase in there too and Waddle.
The first O-lineman
Sewell.
taken was Sewell. I think Joe Alt, in terms of combine in college, is better than Sewell. 100%.
That's
Sewell's proven in the NFL, don't get me wrong, but Joe Alt, in terms of what he did in college and what he did at the combine.
okay. I can side with that. But
Also, you have to think about Joe Alt went to Notre Dame, which is like usually a O-line school.
Factor.
And I feel like that just factors into having good coaching, and then obviously the Titans signed maybe one of the best O-line coaches
They did.
that,
He is the-
that a rookie O-lineman can just learn from.
I'm telling you, man, I'm so excited for next season. I'm so excited.
I mean, watching Will Levis last year get like
oh,
folded like a
dude,
lawn
I'm
chair
so
every week.
excited.
You had one
I'm
good
so
game.
excited for Will Levis.
Oh my gosh, there's such a rant that I could do, but the Titans signed so many offensive linemen. All we're missing is left tackle. You have a generational talent going at left tackle behind all the moves that you made at receiver. Give Levis time. That offense is going to shine. Like I said, it's just the coaching hires were fantastic with Callahan, O-line coach, like you mentioned. I'm just they're. But the thing is, there's zero excuse for Levis now. This is his make or break year. It doesn't happen for guys usually to the third or fourth, but the Titans rebuilt that fast. This is Levis's.
I have high hopes for him. I'm going to be honest. I mean, his first game out, he threw like 4 touchdowns,
He
threw some
looked
bombs.
good,
He's, I wasn't high on him before, but after seeing what he could do, I mean, I'm really excited to see his future.
I wanted him in Tennessee his senior year, Kentucky. Like that's how long I've been following.
Wow.
I've always liked him, even since the Mayo and coffee incident. Like ever since then.
Wow, so you're a true fan if you stuck
a
through
true
that.
And then we got him in the second round, and like since then, like I always liked Will Levis. I just love what he can do with the football. He's strong arm, and now you're actually gonna give him time with a great receiving core. Oh, but it's not 2020.
It's better than Malik Willis. That's all.
Well, Malik Willis is trash.
I'm
I was so
ashamed.
high on him.
I am ashamed to say how bad I wanted Malik Willis. I would have taken him 9th overall.
I was
in the first round.
I
You
was
can't
so
throw for
high
over
on
100
Malik
yards
Willis.
in a game.
Dude, he's hot garbage now. I mean, he's a decent third stringer, but that's it. I wouldn't
feel
put him
like
anywhere
that's
else.
Like Marcus Russell.
Yeah, that's like the case with all Liberty quarterbacks. They're like, oh, they're so good, but they went to Liberty, like, and then
they
they come
play?
in, and then they are like, oh, I think I'm gonna change the receiver. Oh no, wait, I'm gonna like go to be a third string quarterback in New England. Like,
I want Willis to thrive. I think he can be at his peak a good backup, but I was so high on him for nothing, unfortunately.
Yeah, you and me both, man. I was like praising him like he's the next Russell Wilson. He was nothing like that.
Carson, I'm going to guarantee you something, by the way.
What?
With the 16th pick next week,
Yeah,
Seattle Seahawks are going to take Troy Fatano.
dude, I've seen that so often. I want Byron Young. I really want Byron
You
Young.
mean Murphy?
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Byron Young was last
The
year.
Rams,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I wanted him too, but still, Byron Murphy. I mean, man, that guy's a dog. But odds of us getting him are unlikely. But with that being said, that's going to do it here for Hawk Talk on Wednesday, 91.7 The Edge, WSUW. Hope you have a wonderful day. We're going to get you right back to some more music here on 91.7 The Edge.